Hello, listener. The fact you hear this means you're alive. If you're new here, consider subscribing and comment below. Where you're listening from, you must subscribe because every single subscribe helps me donate $1 to those who sacrifice for our country. Let's begin the story. I died in that house. Or at least something in me did. My name is Victor, and I've been cleaning crime scenes for 11 years now. You get used to the blood, the smell, the way brain matter sticks to wallpaper. What you never get used to is the silence. That heavy, watching silence that fills a room after violence has emptied it of life. The first call came on a Tuesday, around 2:30 in the afternoon. My phone buzzed with a new work order. Residential cleanup, single-family home on Maple Grove Road. Standard rate. Nothing unusual about the job itself, except the address felt familiar somehow. Like I'd driven past it in a dream. I loaded my van with the usual supplies. Industrial cleaners, biohazard bags, protective gear. The October wind cut through my jacket as I drove across town. Maple Grove sat in an older neighborhood where the trees grew tall and the houses leaned slightly, as if tired from decades of holding secrets. Number 42 stood at the end of a cul-de-sac. 2 stories, gray siding, black shutters. Completely ordinary. The kind of house you'd forget the moment you looked away. I should have trusted that instinct. The key was under the mat. Always a bad sign. Crime scene companies usually coordinate with property management or family members. Someone hands you a key, gives you the rundown, tells you where it happened. But the work order just said the key would be waiting. No contact name. No forwarding number. Just an electronic payment deposited that morning. I unlocked the door. The hinges didn't creak. The air inside felt cold. Not temperature cold, but the kind of cold that settles in your chest and stays there. I've been in hundreds of death houses. This one felt different. Awake somehow. The living room looked untouched. Furniture positioned neatly, a layer of dust suggesting weeks without habitation. No blood. No signs of trauma. I checked my phone to verify the address. 42, Maple Grove. Correct. Then I noticed the basement door. It stood slightly ajar, revealing darkness below. A smell drifted up, copper and something else. Something sweet and rotting. My boots made soft sounds on the stairs. The basement light didn't work. I used my flashlight, the beam cutting through shadows that seemed too thick, too resistant to illumination. The blood started halfway down the steps. I've seen arterial spray paint entire rooms. I've scraped bone fragments from ceiling fans. But this was different. The blood formed a pattern. Not random splatter, but deliberate. Precise. Like someone had carefully poured it into specific shapes on the concrete floor. Symbols I didn't recognize. Circles within circles. Lines intersecting at odd angles. The kind of thing that makes your rational mind scream while your instincts whisper run. I started documenting. Photos, measurements, notes. Professional habit. The smell intensified as I worked. That mixture of old blood and something floral. Lilacs, maybe. Wrong season for lilacs. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. Hello. Static. Then breathing. Not heavy, not threatening. Just there. Someone listening. Who is this? The breathing stopped. A woman's voice, distant and hollow. Did you find her? Find who? Ma'am, I'm just the cleanup crew. The call ended. When I tried calling back, the number didn't exist. I stood alone in that basement, surrounded by blood symbols that shouldn't exist and a smell that had no source. My hand shook as I opened the first biohazard bag. Something was wrong with this job. Everything was wrong with this job. But I needed the money. So I kept working. The blood wouldn't come up. I'm not talking difficult. I mean impossible. I used enzyme cleaners that could dissolve biological material down to the molecular level. The blood stayed. I scrubbed until my shoulders ached. The symbols remained, dark and wet, as if freshly spilled. Around 5:15, I heard footsteps above me. Slow, deliberate, moving from the kitchen toward the living room. I froze, listening. The house was supposed to be empty. Hello. My voice echoed up the stairs. Property management. The footsteps stopped. Silence pressed down like a physical weight. Then softly a door closed somewhere on the second floor. I climbed the basement stairs 2 at a time. The living room sat empty, exactly as I'd left it. I checked every room on the first floor. Nothing. No one. But when I looked out the front window, I saw her. A woman stood at the edge of the yard. She wore a white dress, too thin for the cold October evening. Her dark hair hung loose around her shoulders. She stared at the house with an expression I couldn't read from this distance. Not quite sadness. Not quite fear. I blinked, and she was gone. I left around 7:30 that evening, the job incomplete. This never happened. I prided myself on finishing every assignment, no matter how difficult. But something about that house made my skin crawl. The blood that wouldn't clean. The footsteps. The woman in white who vanished like smoke. I drove home trying to rationalize it. Old blood can be stubborn. Houses settle and make noises. The woman was probably a neighbor. Curious. Nothing supernatural. Nothing impossible. My apartment felt too quiet that night. I made dinner, but couldn't eat. Every shadow seemed to hold shapes, watching. Around 11:45, my phone rang. Same unknown number. Hello? The woman's voice again, clearer now. You left her there. Ma'am, I don't know what you're talking about. If you're the homeowner, I can explain. She's still in the basement, Victor. She's waiting for you to come back. My blood went cold. I never given my name. The work order was assigned to my company, not personally. Who is this? How do you know my name? The same way I know you'll go back tomorrow. The same way I know you can't stop thinking about those symbols. About the blood. About me. I didn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw those basement symbols. They burned behind my eyelids, pulsing with a rhythm that felt almost like breathing. Around 3 in the morning, I gave up trying and made coffee instead. My laptop sat on the kitchen table. I opened it and started searching. Occult symbols, blood rituals, unexplained markings at crime scenes. The internet is full of conspiracy theories and paranoid rambling, but buried in the noise, I found something. A blog post from 7 years ago. A woman named Elena had documented strange occurrences in her neighborhood. Houses where people disappeared. Not moved away, disappeared. There one day, gone the next. Belongings left behind. Food in the refrigerator. Wallets on nightstands. The blog mentioned symbols found in several basements. Symbols that matched what I'd photographed. Elena's final post was dated November 3rd. She wrote, I'm going into 42 Maple Grove tonight. If I don't post tomorrow, you'll know where to find me. Or where not to find me. She never posted again. I sat back, my coffee growing cold. The morning light began filtering through my window. I should have called the police. Should have walked away from this job entirely. Instead, I packed my van and drove back to Maple Grove Road. The house looked different in daylight. Smaller somehow. Less threatening. I almost convinced myself I'd overreacted. The key was still under the mat. I stepped inside, and the cold hit me immediately. That wrong chest-deep cold that had nothing to do with temperature. The living room remained undisturbed, but something had changed. I couldn't identify what. Just a feeling that the furniture had shifted slightly. That the shadows fell at different angles. I descended into the basement. My breath caught. The blood was gone. Not clean gone. The concrete floor showed no trace of the symbols, no residual staining, nothing. The space looked completely normal. Clean. As if I'd imagined the entire thing. But I had photos on my phone. Proof. I pulled it out, scrolling frantically through yesterday's pictures. Empty. Every photo of the basement showed only clean concrete. No blood. No symbols. No, I muttered, checking and rechecking. Gone. All gone. Then I saw the door. A small door set into the far wall, painted the same gray as the concrete. I'd been in this basement for hours yesterday. That door hadn't been there. I was certain. I would have noticed. The door had no handle. No hinges on my side. Just a seam in the wall that suggested it could open, if you knew how. I pressed against it. Nothing. I ran my hands along the edges, searching for a mechanism. My finger caught on something, a small indentation near the top right corner. I pressed it and heard a soft click. The door swung inward. Darkness. Complete and absolute. My flashlight seemed to die in that space, the beam swallowed after only a few feet. The smell hit me again. Copper and lilacs. Stronger now. Coming in waves I shouldn't have entered. Every instinct screamed to leave, to run, to never come back. But I thought of Elena, of the blog post, of the woman in white who knew my name. I stepped through the door. The space beyond wasn't a room. It was a corridor stretching farther than the house's foundation could possibly accommodate. The walls were smooth concrete, slightly damp. No doors, no windows. Just the corridor extending into darkness. And at the far end, barely visible in my failing flashlight, I saw her. The woman in white. Elena. She stood perfectly still, her back to me, her dark hair cascading down her white dress. Elena. My voice sounded small and far away. She turned slowly. Her face. Oh God, her face. I ran. I don't remember climbing the basement stairs or bursting through the front door. I don't remember getting in my van or driving away. The next clear memory I have is sitting in a parking lot 3 miles away, my hand shaking so violently I couldn't grip the steering wheel. Her face. It wasn't decomposed or injured. It was wrong in a worse way. Too smooth. Too symmetrical. Eyes that didn't blink, didn't reflect light. A mouth that smiled without moving. Like a photograph of a person, animated by something that had never been human. My phone buzzed. Text message. Unknown number. Why did you run, Victor? I only wanted to talk. My hands trembled as I typed back. What are you? 3 dots appeared, showing she was typing. They pulsed for nearly a minute before the response came. On what happens when you break the rules. When you ignore the warnings. When you clean up what should stay dirty. The house needs to feed, Victor. It's been hungry for so long. I'm calling the police. And tell them what? That a house tried to eat you. That a dead woman texted you. They'll find nothing. They always find nothing. The house is very good at looking innocent. I threw my phone onto the passenger seat. My breath came in short gasps. This wasn't real. Couldn't be real. I was having some kind of breakdown. Carbon monoxide poisoning from the cleaning chemicals. A psychotic episode. But deep down, I knew the truth. I didn't go home that night. Couldn't. The thought of being alone in my apartment, waiting for another phone call or text, was unbearable. Instead, I drove to a diner on the edge of town. The kind of place that's always open, always half empty, where no one asks questions. I ordered coffee and pie I wouldn't eat and tried to think rationally. Elena had disappeared investigating that house. How many others before her? The blog mentioned multiple disappearances over years, all from the same neighborhood. All leaving behind the same mystery, people who vanished without explanation, their belongings untouched. Around 2 a.m, an older man sat down across from me. I hadn't noticed him approach. He had a weathered face, gray stubble, eyes that had seen too much. You've been to the house on Maple Grove, he said. Not a question. I stared at him. Who are you? My name is Marcus. I used to be a cop. 20 years ago, I responded to the first disappearance from that neighborhood. A woman named Sophia found her car in the driveway, her purse on the kitchen counter. No signs of struggle. No blood. Nothing. She was just, gone. He leaned forward, his voice dropping to a whisper. I went back that night. Couldn't stop thinking about it. The house was empty, but I heard things. Footsteps. Voices. I found the basement door. Marcus ordered coffee and continued his story. The basement was clean when I went down. Too clean. But I felt it that cold. That watching feeling. I found symbols carved into the wall, hidden behind a shelf. Not drawn in blood. Carved. Deep. Like they'd been there for decades. He pulled out a worn notebook from his jacket pocket, flipped to a page covered in sketches. The symbols matched what I'd seen. Exactly. I tried to investigate, Marcus said. Filed reports. Talked to the property owners. The house has changed hands 17 times in 40 years. Different people, different reasons for selling, but always the same story. They felt uncomfortable. Some reported hearing voices, seeing figures. Most just left without explanation. Why didn't you do something? I asked. If you knew. I tried. His voice cracked. I went to the newspapers. My superiors. Anyone who would listen. They all thought I was crazy. Stressed. Seeing patterns where none existed. Then my partner Stefan decided to investigate on his own. Marcus went quiet. His hands gripped his coffee cup until his knuckles went white. They found his car on Maple Grove 3 days later. Empty. Keys in the ignition. His wallet, his badge, his gun, all there. Stefan was gone. Just like Sophia. Just like all the others. I felt sick. How many? 18 confirmed disappearances over 40 years. Probably more that weren't reported. The house feeds slowly. Carefully. Never enough to draw real attention. Marcus and I sat in that diner until dawn, planning. He had decades of research, newspaper clippings, police reports, interviews with neighbors who'd witnessed strange things. A pattern emerged. Every 7 years, the house became active. It would call someone, a cleaner, a realtor, an inspector. Someone who worked alone. Someone who wouldn't be immediately missed. The house would lure them in with a job, a mystery, something that required their return. You're in the cycle now, Marcus said grimly. It's marked you. You'll feel compelled to go back. The dreams will start soon. Visions of the woman. Of Elena. Of all the others trapped inside. Trapped. I echoed. You're saying they're still alive? I don't know if alive is the right word. The house feeds on them. Their energy, their fear, their identity. It keeps them aware enough to suffer, but not alive enough to escape. They've become part of it. Pieces of the house itself. My phone buzzed. Another text from Elena. You're talking to Marcus. Good. He'll tell you it's hopeless. That you can't win. He's right. But there's one thing he doesn't know. I showed Marcus the text. His face went pale. What don't I know? I typed back. The house can be stopped. But only from the inside. Only by someone who's been marked but hasn't been taken yet. Someone like you, Victor. Marcus grabbed my arm. Don't listen to her. It's a trick. Everyone who's gone inside with a plan to stop it has vanished. But I was already standing, gathering my things. I went back to Maple Grove at noon on Thursday. The sun was bright, the street quiet. Normal. The house sat at the end of the cul-de-sac, looking as innocent as any other suburban home. Marcus had tried to stop me. Call me every name he could think of. Stupid. Suicidal. Delusional. But he also gave me something. A small leather pouch containing salt, iron filings, and a page torn from his notebook. Instructions written in cramped handwriting. If you're really going to do this, he'd said, you need to understand what you're dealing with. That house was built on a convergence point. A place where reality is thin. The symbols in the basement aren't decoration, they're a doorway. Someone opened it decades ago and never closed it. Whatever's on the other side has been feeding ever since. I stood at the front door now, the key in my hand. I could still walk away. Get in my van and never come back. Let someone else answer the next call. Pretend I'd never seen the basement, never met Elena's ghost, never learned the truth. But 18 people were trapped inside, suffering, aware. And I was the only one who could reach them. I unlocked the door and stepped inside. The cold embraced me like an old friend. The basement door stood open, waiting. I descended slowly, Marcus's instructions clutched in my hand. The symbols had returned, glowing faintly in the dim light. Not blood this time. They seemed carved from shadow itself, three-dimensional and writhing. The hidden door in the far wall hung ajar. The corridor beyond stretched impossibly deep. But I could see them now. All of them. Elena, Sophia, Stefan. 18 figures standing in the darkness, their faces smooth and wrong, their eyes hollow and hungry. You came back, Elena said. Her voice echoed from everywhere and nowhere. We knew you would. I began pouring the salt mixture from Marcus's pouch, creating a circle around the symbols. The shadows recoiled, hissing. The air grew colder. The house groaned, walls creaking as if in pain. You can't break it, Sophia's voice joined Elena's. The doorway is permanent. We are permanent. Marcus's partner tried, Stefan added, his hollow eyes fixed on me. He thought salt and iron would be enough. It's not. Nothing is enough. I finished the circle and pulled out the torn page. The words written there weren't English. Maybe weren't any human language. But Marcus had made me memorize them, practice the pronunciation. He'd said they were old. Older than the house. Older than the convergence point. I began to read. The symbol screamed. The house came alive. Walls cracked, floors buckled. The basement corridor collapsed in on itself, shadows shrieking as they were pulled backward into the doorway. The 18 figures fought against the pull, their faces contorting, their mouths opening in silent screams. Elena reached for me, her hand passing through the salt circle. For a moment, her face flickered. Beneath the smooth wrongness, I saw her real face, young, terrified, desperate. "Please," she whispered. "Don't leave us here." But the spell was unbreakable once started. The doorway was closing, and everything it had claimed would go with it. The house would collapse. The convergence point would seal. And the 18 souls trapped inside would finally find whatever peace existed on the other side. I kept reading until the final word left my lips. The world went white. I woke up in a hospital 3 days later. They found me unconscious in an empty lot on Maple Grove Road. No house at number 42. According to county records, there had never been a house there. Just an empty plot, undeveloped for decades. Marcus visited me once. He looked older, more tired. We didn't talk about what happened. What could we say? That 18 people were free? That a doorway to somewhere else had been closed? That reality had rewritten itself to erase a house that should never have existed? I quit the crime scene business. Some stains you can't clean, and some houses aren't meant to be entered. But sometimes, late at night, I still get calls from unknown numbers. Static on the line. Breathing. And a woman's voice distant and hollow. "Thank you, Victor. We're free now." But the convergence points are everywhere. And something has to feed. Then the line goes dead, and I'm left wondering which house will call me next.